Hi, Steve here with my weekly diet update. Okay, this week I didn't have time to go over to the nurse's office to check my body fat percentage. I had a lot of stuff going on with my family and errands and some overtime at work, so I didn't have time for that. So I just weighed myself on the scale in the bathroom, and I weigh under 240 pounds with thick clothes on and thick jeans, so I must be making some progress. I've been doing a low carb diet. I've been inspired by a lot of people doing the low carbs. I know Joel from Media Glitch lost like 40 pounds. He's just a little guy, and so that's a lot with that keto diet. Another guy is Colton West from the Colton West channel that does movie reviews and video game reviews. He lost all kinds of weight with that keto diet, keto. So that kind of inspired me to do something a little bit different, do low carbs. I usually try to eat healthy, but I do eat probably more bread and pasta, crackers and stuff than I should if I'm trying to lose weight. And I wasn't able to make it to the gym this week. I was still kind of getting over my sickness, and I was always wore out at the end of the work. And then with the overtime, I was wore out. So, okay, enough of that. Okay, so this week I'm going to go back to sharing one of my collections. I'm going to be sharing my Xbox 360 collection, and that's one that's really near and dear to me. This is probably at my second peak of video gaming. When I was a kid, around Nintendo and Super Nintendo was like a high point in video games for me, and then I kind of slowed down a bit. By the time the 360 came out, I was hard into video games, probably more than I should have been. That's probably how I packed on all that weight, just from grubbing. I was making good money at my new job, just eating a bunch of junk food, playing a new video game every week. But I had a blast doing it. I was a huge fan of the original Xbox, so I got this thing day one. This is the only console I ever bought day one. I had it pre-ordered. I picked it up day one launch. And that's the only console I've ever done that with. And I was not disappointed with this thing. I have had a few of them. I had the red ring a couple times. Sent it back and they replaced it for free shipping, everything, so I can't really complain. But yeah, I just love this thing. A lot of great memories with this, a lot of fun games. Back when I had a lot of free time, I spent a lot of time playing this thing online with my best friend from outside of the country. So that's another reason I like this, and I think it was before Skype. I could talk to my buddy a lot on the headset on Xbox Live. Yeah, just a magical machine. And then of course you have to have the controllers if you want to play it. I always prefer the wired controllers, so I have one of those, two of those, three of those, and four of those, four wired controllers. This one my brother-in-law gave to me, and it's kind of broke. He rages out at games a lot like I do. I'm really ashamed how many controllers I've smashed over the years. I don't do that type of thing anymore, but I've smashed a lot of them all the way back to Super Nintendo. One time I got so mad I broke a PS3 controller in my hand, just with my knees. I had it propped between my knees. I just cranked on it, raging out. It was at Mortal Kombat. It was at Shao Kahn at the end of Mortal Kombat 9. And then I have one wired controller. These work really well, and I like how you can just replace the AA batteries on them. I guess these are worth a lot of money. I recently learned from MC Murr. He was saying these go for a lot of credit at GameStop, so I might actually take this to GameStop. I don't need it. I have the remote for the kids to watch cartoons, so I don't really need this. Okay, moving on to the games. Okay, and I'll start off with my disc-only diarrhea, as MC Murr would call it. I'm sure you're familiar with him. If not, check him out. He has solid videos where I learn a lot about buying and trading games, and learn a lot about new games I didn't know about. And he has a nice smooth flow with his videos, just a nice smooth flow for about 10 or 15 minutes. No cuts, no edits, just a really intelligent dude. Really funny too. Anyway, disc only games. Skyrim. I had to pick that up because I had the complete version of it in disc and manual and map and all that, but I must have let someone borrow it, and I don't remember who it was. But I picked up this one at GameStop along with Final Fantasy 13, which I really want to play one of these days. Deus Ex, Human Revolution, I don't know much about those games, and Rise of the Argonauts. I think that's like an action role-playing game, kind of similar to what is it, Mass Effect or Jade Empire. Yeah, anyway, so I had to get these at GameStop. These were all $9 for all 4 of these at GameStop. Okay, moving on to the complete games. I have Assassin's Creed 2. I really am not into these Assassin's Creed games. I don't really like them. Assassin's Creed 2. I thought this would be something my wife would like, but she never has the time, so I bought her Assassin's Creed 2. I hear that's the best one. So we have that in our backlog to play. I'm never going to play them. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, I guess this is the one with the pirate ship. This is one that's supposed to be really good too. Not really my type of thing. LA Noire, I picked this up a few years ago. It was like $2 or $3 at GameStop. I know it was under $5. I haven't played it yet, but it's something I really want to play through. I haven't watched any gameplay much or reviews for it because I don't want to have it spoiled for me because I really want to play this game eventually. Saboteur, this is a really fun Grand Theft Auto style game set in Nazi-occupied France. Kind of an open world game. You have to liberate certain sections of Paris. They're all occupied by Nazis. You play this race car driver dude. I think he's a Scotsman or Irishman. I don't remember. This is a game my wife played the heck out of. I didn't really ever play it. I like to watch her play it. Yeah, a lot like Assassin's Creed. I think it's better. A lot like Saints Row, Grand Theft Auto. It's set in Paris, open world. Like I said, there's occupied... the Nazis have occupied the city, and you have to go liberate each section of the city. When it's Nazi-occupied, it's black and white. And then you... when you kill enough Nazis or whatever, it goes into color, so... you kind of bring light to the world or whatever by killing and mutilating Nazis. This series I'm not really into either, but my wife goes through all of them. She's dominated all of these games. Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2 I think was her favorite. Saints Row the Third, they start getting really wacky around this time. These games are kind of like a spoof to Grand Theft Auto and other video games. And then I think this is Saints Row 4, the Complete Edition, or National Treasure Edition. I think you play the President in this one. Burnout Revenge for 360. We have this on Xbox as well. I think this is the only Burnout game we have for 360. Batman Arkham Asylum, we've never played that. I got this for my wife because it was really cheap. It was under $5, and she loves Batman and the comic book stuff, the DC stuff, so I got her that, but she hasn't played through it yet. Oh, Lego Batman 2. This is my wife. She's played through this. She loves these Lego Batman games. Alright, Bioshock. I love this game. I'm not really into first-person shooters. This is one of the few I really like. I like this and Half-Life 2 and Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. Maybe Bioshock Infinite. There are a few I like. This is one of my favorite first-person shooters. It kind of feels like Metroid in a way to me. The orange box with Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2. That's confusing. And they never came out with Half-Life 2 Episode 3. I don't know why they named them that. They should have just named it Half-Life 2, and then Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and then Half-Life 2 Episode 3, and been done with it. And they left it on a cliffhanger, and there have been no games ever since. Anyway, those are on there. And then Portal. My wife loves the Portal games. And Team Fortress 2. I'm not really into that type of thing, but I think it's the inspiration for all these new games kids like Overwatch and all that. Portal 2, I don't really know much about these games. They give me a headache, but my wife loves them. She beats all of these Portal games. And then one of the games I got at launch, Perfect Dark Zero. I actually really like this game, the story mode. I had never played anything that looked this good before. I know it doesn't look like the best 360 game, it's one of the earlier ones, but at the time I was just blown away by the graphics on this and the sound and everything. I haven't really played it ever since, but I know I did enjoy playing through this game. And it had a lot of multiplayer modes too. Kroll the game, no, Dark Sector. He has that little Kroll weapon though. It's exactly like the little throwing weapon from that movie Kroll in the 80s. This is like a futuristic sci-fi horror game. It was kind of trying to go in the direction of like Resident Evil 4, I think, at the time, or Gears of War. It's a pretty fun little game. I don't think I ever played through it all. I got stuck. But I got this for $270 about 10 years ago. Dishonored, I never really got into this game. My wife got it for me for Christmas about 5 years ago. And I thought it would be something I'd love, but I just lost interest with it. I don't know if I should give it another chance or play it again. I don't know. Let me know if anyone likes that game. Or here's one of the games I bought the 360 for, Dead Rising. This was a blast to play. It was a little irritating being timed all the time and you're on a time limit. You have to rescue all these people with a time limit. But man, this is a fun game. I always loved Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead, the George A. Romero movie. This is almost like a video game of that. It even says here on the label, this game was not developed, approved, or licensed by the owner or creators of George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. So it's really similar to Dawn of the Dead, and I love that movie. This is like an open world GTA style zombie apocalypse game set in a big mall. You can go around and collect weapons, go upgrade your guy, take out zombies. You could even get in a car and run over them. Has a little story going on, a little overdramatic story as usual. It's a Capcom game, so I was surprised it wasn't just set in the Resident Evil universe, but it's its own thing. Dead Space, everyone said I would love this game, but I didn't really care for it. I think I should give it another try. The atmosphere is really good and all of that, but I just never got into it. And Silent Hill Homecoming, I don't know if this is considered Silent Hill 5 or not. A lot of people don't like this. I really enjoyed it. I thought it felt a lot like Silent Hill 2 with a little bit better combat controls. It's nowhere near as good as Silent Hill 2, and the story's not as good. It's a little over-dramatic crap like always. I thought Silent Hill 2 did it right. This one just feels like it's trying to be Silent Hill 2 with a different story, and it's made pretty well. And I enjoyed the levels and the puzzles and all of that. I don't know. I really liked this game. And then Silent Hill Downpour. I've never played that. I picked this up at a video game convention last year. I traded something for it. So I don't know if it's good or not. If anyone knows, let me know if I should keep it and play it or trade it or get rid of it. Don't know. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. I hear this is garbage, but I picked it up for cheap. My buddy and I were going to play this online, but we never got around to it. Resident Evil 5 Collector's Edition here. This is a game I had to have. This is one of the reasons I bought the 360 as well. Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time. The follow-up is right here. Don't like it quite as much as 4, but this is one of my favorite games ever. I still play it to this day online with people co-op. This is a game my best buddy and I would play all the time online. My best buddy from out of the country. I had a blast with this game. It's really fun to grind away at this game and unlock the trophies and the guns and everything. Then I have another copy of that. I think this is the GameStop label. And then I have Resident Evil 6 Archives Edition. At first I didn't care much for this game, but after I played through it all, I enjoyed it. I actually like this game a lot. And it came with a digital copy of Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 4, and Resident Evil Code Veronica X. So I have all those installed on my 360 now, which is nice. But Resident Evil 6 is a little bit too action themed for me, but it does it well. The only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have the classic tank control styles. This is the first one that just picked up the modern third-person shooter style, which makes it a lot less scary to me. Like, they pretty much control like any other third-person shooter now with the dual sticks. They can dive around, roll around. I really like the tank control better that was in Resident Evil 4 and 5. I kind of like how you have to run around and stop to aim, and you have to be smart about where you stop to aim. It just makes it a lot more intense for me. But I can't say it's bad because it doesn't have the control style I like. Got some fighting games here. Super Street Fighter 4. I had the original Street Fighter 4, but I must have traded it to get this. Street Fighter 4 is like my second favorite fighting game ever. Street Fighter 2 is my favorite, of course, but I really enjoyed this game. I enjoyed playing this game online. This is probably when I got the best at Street Fighter, playing this online all the time. And even the DS version, I played the crap out of that. And this one has all the characters unlocked. It was kind of fun to play the original one, to play through the arcade mode with all the characters, to unlock new characters, kind of like how Tekken was, but this has everything unlocked already, so I mostly just played this online. And then the newest one, Ultra Street Fighter 4. I didn't spend much time with that, but it has everything from every version of Street Fighter 4, even new characters. It's got to have at least 40 characters in here. Soul Calibur 4. I never spent much time with the Soul Calibur games, but they're kind of fun just to button mash away. I know there's a technique to these, but I don't understand it. Whenever I play people, it's just button mash, button mash, button mash. I'm sure there's a technique, though, and I'm just not smart enough to figure it out. But man, these games are gorgeous, though, to look at. And then Rumble Roses XX, wrestling game with a bunch of scantily clad females. This is uncomfortable to play around your family or anything. I would not play this anymore. Wouldn't play it around my mom. My wife doesn't care, but wow. It's a pretty good wrestling game, but oh man, yeah, I like this game. And my 007 games. 007 Quantum of Solace. This is a fun first-person shooter. It plays through the movie of Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. Yeah, like I said, I'm not really into first-person shooters, but this is a James Bond game, so I love it. It has Daniel Craig in there. Pretty good character model of Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig's probably my least favorite Bond, but I love him. I'm queer for Craig. Goldeneye Reloaded. I haven't played this yet. I'm meaning to play it before Christmas time, though. It's a remake or a reimagining of GoldenEye 64 or GoldenEye 007 for Nintendo 64. They took out Pierce Brosnan and added Daniel Craig and kind of modernized it. I'm not really crazy about that, but it looks really good. I can't wait to play it. 007 Bloodstone. This is one of my favorite 007 games. The plot's kind of forgettable, and I don't really remember much about the villains. It's really bland as far as that goes, but the gameplay is probably the best out of any Bond games. I love third-person action stealth shooter games. This is like up there with Uncharted or Gears of War. And Daniel Craig's in here, a great character model, Daniel Craig. Really feels like you're playing through a James Bond movie. I really recommend this game, 007 Bloodstone. Then 007 Legends, first-person shooter. I kind of wish they would have stayed with third-person. But man, I love this game. This is a retelling of a lot of classic James Bond movies, and then they added Daniel Craig to it. A couple things I don't like about it. I don't like the little first-person boxing segments, the little quick time event boxing segments. But it's a shooter game, and it goes through 4 or 5 classic Bond movies, one from each actor. It plays through Goldfinger, the whole story of Goldfinger with Sean Connery. It plays through On Her Majesty's Secret Service with Lazenby. It plays through Moonraker, my favorite, with Roger Moore. It plays through License to Kill with Timothy Dalton, and it plays through Die Another Day with Brosnan, which is actually really good on this. Of course, all those actors have been replaced with Daniel Craig, but a lot of the actors from the old movies show up in here, like Drax from Moonraker's in here. The likeness of all the actors, Goldfinger's in here, Franz Sanchez from License to Kill. Man, I just really like this game. I had a lot of fun with the Moonraker level. It was like a remake of Moonraker, but it actually had Jaws in there and Drax. And they looked the same as from the old movie. Wow, on Her Majesty's Secret Service, you assault Piz Gloria, the mountaintop headquarters of Blofeld. It's so cool to play that in a video game. Okay, moving on to these adventure role-playing type games. Cameo, Elements of Power. This is a game I got right when I got my Xbox. It was like the first game I got. This game's really underrated. I think it's developed by Rare. It's like a Zelda ripoff. It's really good though. It's like an open world adventure Zelda type game. At the time it looked really, really good. I don't know how it would hold up now. I was just blown away with how many enemies were on the screen at once. Kind of open world, kind of like how Hyrule Field was in Ocarina of Time, and then you go around to different lands and play different dungeons to unlock new abilities. It feels a lot like Zelda, but it's really well made. And I never hear people really praise this game too much, but man, I had a blast with this. After coming off of Ocarina of Time, I think I had just played that before this. This really held up really well. Yeah, kind of a fantasy little environment. I thought it was really good. Some games I'm not into, but my wife loves them. I'm really happy she enjoys these. Fable Anniversary, that's a remake of Fable. She's played through this dozens of times. Fable 2, I think that's her favorite one. She's played through that many, many times. It's kind of a fun RPG action game, adventure. Fable 3, it kind of got a little intricate there, but she had a blast with this too. She played this all the time. I have Mass Effect 2, and I never got into it. I played it for a couple hours, and I kind of lost interest. The first game, I had 2 copies of that, and I lent them both out, and I forgot who I lent them to. I haven't seen them ever since. But man, I love Mass Effect 1. I played through that about 10 times. I love that game. A sci-fi adventure action role-playing game. And then there was part 2 here. I kind of got overwhelmed with this. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back and play this either. Here we go. One of my favorite games of all time, Oblivion. Elder Scrolls 4. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Wow, this game is something else. I was never into any of this Dungeons and Dragons dorky stuff or role-playing games or anything. My little brother was hyped about this, and he was telling me how great it was open world, like it's everything you've ever wanted from a role-playing game, open world. It's just like being there in Dungeons and Dragons or Lord of the Rings. And he would show me pictures and talk about and show the trailers and everything. I'd be like, yeah. And then he got it and he loved it, and I kind of watched him play it, and I go, that looks kind of too complicated for me. Because I never played Morrowind or any of those games. But then he said, why don't you try it out? I played it for about 20 minutes. I was hooked. This is like my favorite open world adventure game ever. It's so huge. It's so immersive. So many characters in there. so many quests to go on, so many villages to interact with the people, so many different environments to explore. It's so interactive. I'm surprised I didn't like Skyrim more because it's more of the same thing but better. But man, this thing, I spent so much time on this, it's embarrassing. This is probably how I got so fat and lazy. I remember my wife and I would fight over this game, like who would play it. We didn't actually fight. We're not the type of couple that fights a lot. But we would always want to be playing this game. We only had one copy and one Xbox 360, and we'd always want to be on here. I'd probably be on this thing like 3 hours a day. And I'd come home from work and just be on it for about 3 hours, and I'd want to get up and play it before work for 3 hours. My wife wanted to do the same thing. She wanted to play it all the time. So I ended up getting a PS3 with another copy of this so we could both play it at the same time. Yeah, we knew all the little exploits, all the little tricks in here. Man, this game was a blast. This is one of the only games I ever got the 100% trophies on. And then I think it was the same developers came out with this game, Fallout 3. It went on to Bethesda. Before that, it was some other company. It was more of the turn-based overhead role-playing game. I was never into stuff like that. This game was right up my alley. It was just like Oblivion, but set in post-apocalyptic sci-fi future, kind of 50s themed, as if the apocalypse would have happened in the 50s or the 60s. Man, this is a fun game. Just like Oblivion, pretty much all of the inventory, all the stats and everything, very similar to Oblivion. Only you have guns and bombs and all kinds of modern weapons instead of all that magic, hocus pocus, swords and stuff. But wow, man, this game is so fun to explore. It has a pretty good little story, all kinds of little side stories too, man. I spent way too much time with this crap. And then I have the little add-on pack here, The Pit and Operation Anchorage. I played the crap out of those two. There was another one called, there was a third expansion to this game. I don't remember what it was called. It was kind of set in the swamps. And that game, and that expansion was amazing. It was almost like a new game. It was a brand new huge map to explore. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I highly recommend Fallout 3. And then Fallout New Vegas. I think I like this one even more. It's kind of more familiar to me because I've actually been to New Vegas. As much as I'd like to go to the capital, Washington, D.C., I've never been there. I've been to Vegas and a lot of the places in this, so this one feels closer to home. It's post-apocalyptic, but it's not like where the bombs went off, so everything's pretty much still intact. It kind of feels like Old West, sort of, with modern guns and weapons and monsters and stuff hanging out, radioactive mutant monsters hanging out everywhere. It's not only the desert, but you can go up to go up in the mountains, kind of like Lake Tahoe type areas. And then once you get inside of Vegas, it almost has that Las Vegas feel. A lot of casinos to explore and all kinds of little missions in there. It has a really good feel, this game. I love it. Yeah, so that's my Xbox 360 collection. I would definitely recommend a lot of these, like Cameo if you've never played it. I think it's really cheap right now. 007 Bloodstone if you're into stuff like Uncharted. If you're single and you don't have a girlfriend, Rumble Roses XX. Yeah, Bioshock is just the business. Yeah, Fallout 3. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Fallout 4 now, but man, I like this one. I haven't put much time into Fallout 4 yet. I don't think I want to, but because of all the time I wasted with this. But yeah, Fallout 3 is amazing. Oblivion, if you never played it. If you like Skyrim, please play this and waste your life away playing this. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, that's about it for this week. I'll see you next week with my diet update. Bye.